Good evening, students and parents. Welcome to our college admissions roundtable discussion. Tonight we hope to provide information about the college admissions process as well as understand key aspects of college admissions and what would be helpful to you in your search. For those joining us, this may be the first time you're going through this process, and with all the information as well as colleges out there, it can be daunting to say the least. Each year there appears to be more that we're learning in the counseling field as well as you all with in terms of colleges and what to look out for and what to expect. So at times it can be a little overwhelming. My name is Aaron Kleiman. I'm the Director of School Counseling, and we're delighted that you're here tonight. Our guests for our college admissions panel, to my left, Dr. Susan Maxim from Pace University, Mr. Philip Howard from the University of New Haven, and Ms. Christina Labella from Manhattanville College. And we're excited to have them here tonight. We're going to have a discussion about college admissions. Again, this is not an easy process and it requires a great deal of research, preparation surrounded by self-reflection. There are a lot of factors that go into what colleges or what college I ultimately will decide to apply to. In learning about college admissions, sometimes we might have more questions than we do answers, and we'll try to pose some questions to our panel and learn more about the college admissions process. And towards the end of our discussion, and we have a nice group here tonight, as well as our folks that are joining us on our YouTube live channel. We'll have questions for our panel, and again, we'll open it up at the end to questions that you may have for our representatives. All right, so I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna ask our representatives just to introduce themselves and talk about their position at their college or university.
Yeah, I can start with that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christina Labella. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Manhattanville. So part of my job is to work with high school students. We have a counseling team that you may have already been in touch with. I help review applications during our committee reviews and a lot of other fun stuff like helping figure out where we should go, when we should go visit schools, making connections with high school counselors. It's a lot of fun. I think admissions is a lot of fun, and if you can not be nervous about all the steps that you need to do, your college process can be a lot of fun. Your college selection process can be a lot of fun too.
Thank you. And my name is Phil Howard. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at the University of New Haven. I've been at University of New Haven for 5 years now. I started out in corporate America. Did that for a number of years in financial services, and then I moved on to go and work for a startup for 3 years. So I commuted from Connecticut to Virginia every week for 3 years. I started on the bus. In the first year, I ended up driving and taking the train the second and third year. Nevertheless, did not make millions and retire. So, you know, my love is college admissions, where I started initially after grad school and worked at the university for a year before I went into corporate America, and I absolutely love it. But I do agree that it can be intimidating in terms of the process that you need to learn. You know, there's a lot of colleges to choose from. And we're here to help you, so you know, look forward to having a great conversation with you all this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sue Maxim. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Success at Pace University. I've been here for 34 years, but they're 34 glorious years because I absolutely love what I do. I could never imagine myself in another career because I love Pace so much, and I just love higher ed. I love students. So my job there is basically to make sure students succeed academically, personally, and otherwise. And it's truly amazing. And I love seeing students come in when they're in orientation and they're a little afraid, will I make a friend, will I be homesick? and all the other things that they worry about, and then I see them thrive throughout college and then ultimately graduate. So that's my job, to make sure that they thrive, and I hope tonight that we will teach you how to thrive in the application and thinking about which college to enter process. So I welcome any questions later on, and I'm excited about talking with you tonight.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start. Here's my intro question. How do students begin to look at colleges, and what would you recommend?
What was the first part?
How do students begin to look at colleges, and what do you recommend?
Okay, I'll take that one. I think initially, I think students want to figure out if they want to go away for school or stay local or not too far. Figure out what that distance is like for you, and then take a look at what your interests are in terms of programs and potential majors based off of your area of interest in terms of academically an area of focus that you may want to choose to study in. There is so much to choose, and there's a lot that's out there, but I think there's a lot of resources as well. So in terms of websites, college websites, utilize your high school counselors that have a lot of information and expertise in terms of what area you may be interested in studying, as well as utilize us, your college admissions reps that are representing the colleges and universities. So I commend you all for being here because that's a great way to get information that's applicable to you and get your questions answered. So I continue to look forward to the rest of this evening with you.
So yeah, just to build upon what you just said, think about if you want an urban college, a suburban college, a rural college. Do you want it one bridge away from home? Do you want it a million bridges away from home? Do you want a small college? Do you want a large college? Do you want to be a number and sort of, stay in the background? Do you want classes where it's just like 15 to each professor? It really is totally up to what your learning style is and how you think you're going to thrive. Think about what major or majors you want. You may be a major of the month student, which most students are. They'll change from business to nursing to, health sciences or whatever. So choose a college that has everything you're even remotely thinking about, because you don't want to be switching from college to college if at all possible. And then visit the college. So the websites are great, and so are the open houses, but if you go there and you meet with professors, you talk to the students will tell you the real deal. They'll say the food is great, the food is not so great, or whatever the case is. Find out what the retention rate is for the students who are there, like how many of them continue on, what the graduation rate is, and how the professors teach in the classroom. Is it experiential learning? Is it chalk and talk? Like, you know what I mean by chalk and talk, when they just stand up there at the chalkboard. Is there a chalkboard anymore? I guess it's a whiteboard these days. So all those things think about, but think about what's right for you. And the student clubs and organizations, what do they offer? You want it to be right for you. So really look everywhere that you think might be a good fit for you, and then go and visit there.
I'm going to let you ask the next one because I think they covered a good amount.
It did, thank you. So on that, I just was picking up on something, Sue, that you said, how, and I'm looking at colleges, I'm looking at all kinds of information, I'm reading, the websites, I'm listening to my counselors. How do you determine the right fit? I mean, that might not be the one kind of, maybe cookie cutter answer, but how do you determine a good fit?
Oh, that's a great question. So when you're 16, 17, maybe 18, and you're still trying to figure out, right, what you like or what works for you, or maybe even how you learn, when you're thinking about fit, it really is going to be a feeling. You're going to ask people, well, why did you choose, Manhattanville? Or why did you choose Pace? Or why did you choose New Haven? And they're going to say, well, it just felt right. And I think when you go visit schools, maybe you're going to visit 5 schools, and you're going to be like, there's something that's not sitting right. I think you're gonna have a gut feeling a lot of times that says, oh, I can do really well here. Maybe it's because you talked to the students and you felt like you saw yourself in one of the students, or maybe you got to talk to a faculty and you really connected with a faculty that you didn't think you would at that visit, or maybe it just felt very good to be there. You felt like you could see yourself sitting in a classroom. That's the best way I can explain it, is that you're gonna just have this feeling, and you also have adverse feelings too, like this one is not for me, and that's okay, right? That's why we're privileged enough to be able to choose different schools, and we're in a great area that have a lot of different types of schools that you could choose from, even if you don't want to go away. So yes, all of the things that were mentioned before, but when you say fit, I think it's this kind of gut feeling. And I'll be honest, at 17 or 18, maybe you still don't know that, but your parents are gonna start to realize it, and so make sure you listen to them. They're gonna ask you questions about maybe what you felt about it, or they wanna know your thoughts. Like, share them with them, because they're your confidants in this process, right? Your counselors are gonna be your confidants in this process that are gonna say, okay, like, well, why? What made you feel that way? That's the best way I can explain it. I've worked at a lot of different schools. This is my fourth or fifth college that I've worked at, and that's the one thing I've noticed in every school that's consistent. And I'm like, I just like got this great feeling of that's why I decided to come here. So I think that's my piece of advice.
Thank you.
You wanna? And I can do whatever.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree in terms of finding the right fit. I think once you visit the campus and you go for an open house or an information session and campus tour, you can, number one, get a lot of information and interact with faculty, students. Also, one of the tips that I find very helpful for some of the students is, look at the school newspaper as well as, any other things that you may find interesting, especially depending on the type of program that you're interested in, such as support services, extracurriculars. And I think the combination of you gathering all the information and visiting the campuses, the college campuses, you will get enough information to, I think, see if you can see yourself there to find out if it's the right fit for you or not.
Yeah, and the support services are really important. So do they have a learning commons or tutoring center? Do they have a writing center? Do they have free counseling for the students? All those things are really, really important. Also, there are a lot of services like the Office of Multicultural Affairs and the LGBTQA Center and places like that that you all might identify with, and that's important to know that they exist there and that they're active. And then look at the student interest organizations and clubs, like you were just saying, to see what they have. And a lot of times, I think most times, colleges will allow students to form a club that doesn't exist if you can get enough members to join, and that's really important. But the key thing is the fit. Like, you just know in your gut, so you need to go with your gut. Like, we had this big kindness event this afternoon at Pace, and we had this huge board, a foam board, and we asked students who were passing by to put something on their Post-it note about an act of kindness that they had done themselves or had done to them. And there was literally lines of students waiting to fill out these Post-it notes, and one student proclaimed, "This is why I love Pace. This is why I fit here." And so that goes back to your fit thing. Like, really, you will know. And there may be a number of colleges that you like, and then you just have to choose. And that's a really good thing if you have a gut feeling about 5 different colleges. It's much better than not having a gut feeling about any of them. But really, go to the college, and not just during the orientation or the open house or the conversion events. Go on non-days like that, because then you can really, really see what it's like.
Thank you. If I'm a student who I haven't formulated my plans for an exact major, or I'm still kind of vacillating, like I may like liberal arts, I may like business, is it very important to have that thought out or can I just kind of, I don't want to say have a gut feeling or go with it, but you know, a lot of students don't know what they want to major in. So how would you, in terms of admissions, give some advice to our students if they really, you know, perhaps are thinking of liberal arts, perhaps are thinking of business, but are just not 100% sure?
Yeah, great question. I'll take that one. I think that it's very important to, have conversations about your interest. As I said before, your high school counselors are a great resource, and sort of the admissions counselors in terms of programs that are offered at different universities. And then also, just because you choose a major, at the University of New Haven at least, you don't have to, stick with that major for 4 years, and it's like that at most colleges. It may be a little bit different at each college, but you don't have to specifically declare a major right away. You can start off undeclared. You can take classes in the different programs in colleges, so you get a feel for what you like and what you don't like. I think as well as internships are also a helpful way to discover what you like and what you don't like if you do at least 1 or 2 different internships. Sometimes students do 2 or 3 different internships to get an idea of what type of career they'd like to have. And those turn into real job opportunities oftentimes. So that's a way to get your feet wet, as well as to kind of determine what you'd like to study and what type of career you'd like to have. So you're going to have an advisor, multiple advisor at times. Take advantage of college advisors as well. Once you get into college, they're also going to help you to determine what you'd like to do as a major and as a career.
So as you're thinking about it right now in high school, I would say if you're not sure, maybe you're thinking maybe 3 different types of majors. When you go to your college visits, I would ask, how easy is it to change majors? Sometimes it is fairly easy. At our 3 schools, it is fairly easy to change, and most schools don't make you declare. There are some schools that have very specific programs that have very specific applications to them. So you need to be aware of those schools. Sometimes they're larger schools that have a college of communications. Those tend to be ones that you have a separate application and you're admitted into that school. And sometimes those are harder. So that's going to be something to talk to the admissions counselors about. What is the process? What does that look like? The other thing, especially if you're not sure what you want to study and you're thinking, I'm going to go in undecided, that's great. What is the curriculum for your first year going to look like so that you can have an exploratory curriculum and figure out what is offered at that school and how is it taught and how are you able to explore your different interests? We have a first year experience. A lot of schools have a core curriculum, but if you come in undecided, what are the services and the student help that is there to help you figure out what that is? Not just that you're coming in undecided and you're going to take, 1 class in economics and 1 class in bio and 1 class in history and a class in philosophy. Is there a true opportunity for an exploration program? Those are really important pieces, I think, as you're thinking about, I'm still undecided. A lot of schools offer it, some do it better than others, so you need to ask those questions. I will say this, I think coming on an open house day and coming on, if you get admitted and you're making your final choice, coming on an admitted student day, those are really going to be your best opportunity to see faculty in a large capacity and get to meet a number of faculty. Yes, come on off days, but you may not get to meet everybody that you need to or want to meet or get to talk to. You will have more opportunity to meet students because we are being very conscious about making sure that we have current students there for you to talk to get to know. I can pick our best students out and they're still gonna tell you exactly how they feel, right? Just like you guys are gonna tell exactly how you feel about your high school experience. So yes, you can come on off days, but if you wanna talk to multiple people, you really should try to go to the open houses, because we've put in a concerted effort across the universities to make sure that those people are there to help answer your questions, to give you the information you need. So that would be my really big piece of advice, is to come to some of those larger events. And also, if you're unsure, figure out what those exploration programs look like to support you in figuring out what you want to study.
So advising, like you were saying, is so important, and the advisors in college are kind of like your counselors here in high school. They are going to be the ones to make sure that you're on track to graduate in 4 years, and you really want to make good use of them. So you can find out if they have an advising center for what I call exploring majors. Like we have one at Pace where students who are undecided, and there are tons of them, and they may have multiple majors in mind, but they will make sure that you are on track to take whatever courses you need for that core curriculum, so that you will remain on track to graduate on time, as opposed to taking random courses. So your advisor is your key to success and an on-time graduation. Find out though if they have some sort of an advising center for exploring majors, or an advising person who specializes in that, or whatever. 65% of students across the nation change the major at least once, if not twice or 3 times. So you don't want to be one of those students who changes it constantly, then loses a ton of credits, and then doesn't graduate on time. Our job at every university is to make sure that you do graduate on time when at all possible. We don't want you to spend extra money.
Thank you. So now I'm going to move now to a little bit of the technical piece of applying. So when students are starting to formulate their application and they're applying, and we use the Common App, and the students know that they have Naviance here, and when they submit everything, there goes their transcript, their letters of recommendation, and all the materials. How, from your eyes in admissions, how is the application viewed?
I'll let you two take that one.
Yes.
It's kind of a
It really depends on the school, right? And I think that's very important. So when the admissions office says we take a holistic approach, they're looking at your entire application. They're gonna look at the grades, the classes, your counselor recommendations, your essay, maybe there's supplemental questions that you need to submit. They're looking at your entire application. Most schools are a holistic review. Some majors and some schools have specific GPAs that you need to meet to be admitted into that major. Nursing, and most nursing programs do. Any kind of health science programs, sometimes if it's a 4+1, meaning you can get your bachelor's degree in 4 years and then you get your master's degree in 1 year. Some of those have specific GPA requirements. So if you're looking at any of those majors, it's important to understand what the requirements are for that. That's an important piece. I do think that when you're writing your college essay, remember it's going to be one of the most stressful essays that you write, because you obviously want to do well, but it's also going to be the most easy essay you write, because you are writing about you, right? You know yourself best. It may be stressful to formulate how that's going to come out on paper, and it might take you a couple of times, but you know yourself best. You can explain different experiences that you've had, and so I tell you to just write drafts. It's easier to edit a draft than it is to try to get every single sentence right the first time. And so those are important pieces. At Manhattanville, we read every single essay that you submit. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys do, right? Anybody that requires an essay or supplemental questions are taking the time to read it, right? So know that when your admissions counselors at different schools are reaching out to you and they're saying, I read your application, they really did read your application. So that's important to know, and don't be surprised if they mention something that you mentioned in your essay or something that your counselor mentioned or a class that you took and want to know more about it. So those are kind of my I don't know, public service announcements about the application.
Yep, some great points made. You know, in terms of the essay, I would just recommend that you indicate, you know, how you're going to be able to add value to that college campus community. I think that's important. I think, you know, that's helpful and gives insight to the admissions representatives reading your essay. And as well, you know, we do a holistic review at the University of New Haven, so we do look at everything that you put on your application because it gives us some helpful information about you and who you are, and that's important. You know, again, it does come down to best fit for you. It works both ways as a student, and for you as a student, you know, what type of value you can add to the university. So the university is also looking at it from their perspective as well. So it's a two-way street. Is what I'm getting at. And, you know, so for some of the more challenging programs, you know, such as for us, it's forensic science, which we've had a #1 ranking in the nation for that particular program. So the requirements are a little bit more difficult, more challenging for students to get in. We get applications from all over the world, and as well for criminal justice, and we have some health sciences programs that, you know, dental hygiene, and where you have to be good in math and science. So, you know, just keep that in mind as well. Just making sure that, you know, you're applying to the programs that, you know, you know, really want to get into, and that you can do a good job at. So I think that's, you know, some of the things that are very helpful.
I'm just going to add one thing about the essay. I know we all keep harping on the essay, but the essay is really important. We don't just want a laundry list of the activities that you've done, like, I went to the Future Nurses Club of America one time, but I'm not going to tell you it was only one time, and then you just list everything that you just went to one time or a couple of times. We want a story. We want to know who you are. Every single one of you is unique, and we want to know what makes you unique. Was there some adverse situation that you encountered and then you overcame it? Tell us a story about you. We want to know about you. So, and then edit, and make sure there aren't any typos. At least very few typos.
Thank you. Can I continue with the essay? So a question, I mean, a lot of students, you know, we read, and as we advise students, it doesn't have to be the next greatest piece of written literature, but are there anything, or topics that students should stay away from that you've read and you kind of like, wow, I see this application, student, you know, transcript, letters of recommendation, but the essay just kind of left me wondering. Is there something, or in your experiences, that maybe students should stay away from?
Well, you know,
None of us were enjoying this question.
Right, I know. I didn't mean to put this one out there, but I think I have to,
No, you
for,
have to,
for
you
students
have
who really, you know, are concerned about the essay.
Yeah.
it's a great question, and I think that, you know, one of the most common, you know, subjects that comes up for some of the students, and you know, is that they write their entire essay about, you know, their whole athletic career. Now, it's okay to talk about you as an athlete and what you've contributed, and you know, the accolades that you've received. But you know, keep in mind that we are reading a lot of different essays, and if they all sound very similar in terms of, oh, I played, you know, so-and-so sport at high school, and that's all you write about, you know, that only is, that's kind of one-dimensional. And we want to know a little bit more than you just being a member on the athletic team, So, just give a little bit more in terms of, some of the other things and accomplishments that you have done that you are proud of, and that is, that'll be additional information so that we can understand more of who you are. I'm sure it's not, everybody's not just doing athletics, so we want to get that insight.
The other thing I think too, don't worry, we talk about, oh, if you had an adverse experience. Not all of us have profoundly adverse experiences that have changed the course of our life. I mean, you have had 16 to 18 years. Hopefully you haven't had to experience something, tragically adverse in your life. So if you haven't, that's okay. We're not looking just for that. I read an essay once about a young man who decided was I think 5, and he met a friend who came over from China and only spoke Mandarin, and he decided he wanted to learn Mandarin at 5. And you know what? He ended up coming to the school that I was working at and minored in Mandarin. It wasn't an adverse experience, but it was a defining experience for him. You don't have to speak Mandarin to have that experience either, but that was something that really changed the course of his life and how he wanted to study and what he wanted to study. So that would be my other advice. We talk about, oh, what did you have an adversity? I hope you're all blessed enough that you haven't had to have that adversity to overcome. So, find something that was a joy that happened, that defined, something that you did, or why you became who you are, or why you're interested in studying. We love reading those too, right? Those are very powerful for us, and some of the ones that stand out. So that would be my other piece of advice.
Yeah, so I hope I didn't let you think that you should only be writing about an adverse situation, because that's not what my point. My point was tell a story, and I just use that as an example. But we've had students who would write about their mission in life. Like, we had one recently who said, my mission in life is to be the change I want to see in the world, and so I want to major in peace and justice studies. So, and then she went on to say why she was interested in doing that. So those stories are really important. And then things to avoid, I don't know, I guess like partisan politics and things like that, where you're just saying, like, we need to do this in this country and I'm going to be doing it. I mean, I can't say how admission counselors think about that, but I would say not to just make an essay about that, because the essay needs to just really be about you and a story about you.
Thank you. Question about, with that, in our mode of thinking of essays and applications, how do students, I don't know if this is the right perhaps phrase, but make their application complete, or I don't want to say stand out, but are they, in your experiences, everything should be completed timely, in a timely fashion, but is there anything in their application to, if they're really trying for admission, to make it stand out?
If you really want to stand out, most schools have an early action, not early decision. There's a difference. So early decision, if you are going to apply early decision to a school, you have already made up your mind that that's the school for you, and if you get in, you're going to that school. But if you really love Manhattanville or Pace or University of New Haven, and you're like, you know what, I want them to know I already really love it, and they have an early action deadline, I would apply to that, because that does indicate to us they are really interested. They're early. Our date for Manhattanville is November 18th, that you need to have all of your pieces of your application in, your essay, your application, your transcript, and your letters of recommendation. But that's a great indicator. The other thing, if we want to talk about the essay, if you really love a school, you could write your essay directly towards that school, or in the supplemental, explain really why you love that school. and why you think it's a great fit. You have a question? Oh, okay, I just didn't want to.
No, agreed. We also have early action. We actually, at the University of New Haven, have early action 1 and 2. So December 15th and February 15th dates are the deadlines. So if you submit your application by those dates, you can still apply early. And it does give an indication that you are a little bit more serious and interested in the university. It also is an opportunity for you to, for example, there are some added benefits. So we have, you know, if you do apply early, you know, an increase in the merit award. So it's $5,000 additionally, which is the minimum floor as opposed to applying regular decisions. So there are some benefits, so make sure you look into those options. You know, still flexible, still able to apply to other universities as opposed to early decision, which is binding, and you're making a commitment. You have to deposit by a certain date, and once you get accepted, you have to withdraw your other applications from the other universities you applied to. So there's a big difference there. So that's why we're saying early action is the better option for most students in terms of being able to leave your options open.
So agreed with both of you, and the only other thing I would add would be is if you have an e-portfolio of work that you've done that relates to your major or intended major, definitely add that to your application, just the link to it, and that really, really helps.
Thank you. So on the application, the question that does come up, and for some time I know colleges across the country are making their admissions in terms of testing test optional. Are you test optional?
Yes.
Yes, we are test optional at the University of New Haven for all programs and majors.
Same at Manhattanville, yes. In fact, we are test blind in terms of scholarships. So if you do submit your SAT scores or you submit them and didn't even realize it, we do not review those to award merit scholarship either. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. At the University of New Haven, we have something that's similar. We have a no harm policy for your SAT and ACT scores. So if you do submit them, it can only help you. It can't hurt you in any way. So that's the policy.
And we too are test optional.
Thank you. What are some pitfalls that students should be aware of when they're applying?
Okay, this is a little, everyone is gonna hate me. If there is an application fee, if you visited the school, or maybe a counselor came to visit you and you saw them, don't be afraid to ask for an application fee waiver. I feel like I can say that because I'm the director and I just give them out like their candy because I like to meet students. I don't get to meet students that often, so it's my favorite thing to do. But if you have met with a counselor either at your school or you came to campus, most times most schools will give out fee waivers for those types of things. Don't be afraid to ask. The other thing would be is if you have a hardship, because you can't do that. A lot of schools have hardship waivers, so don't let that be a reason why you don't apply. Make sure you ask first. Some schools are less liberal than I can be with them, but it never hurts to ask. Do not let that be something that stops you from applying.
Agreed. Very similar, where we have fee waivers for students that apply early. So again, great point. I think it's very important that you ask those questions about fee waivers for those schools that you're applying to, because a lot of schools do offer them. And I think that's it.
Yeah, and PACE offers them as well. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, you should ask. If you don't ask, you're definitely not going to get it. So, and we do love giving you that. It makes us feel good to be of assistance to people. So ask, and you'll probably receive.
You know, I'm going to add one thing.
Yeah.
We were talking about what makes your application stand out too. If you're asking for it because you're really interested, that's another indication to us that like they really are interested in Manhattanville or Pace or University of New Haven. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach for you guys too.
I'll add one more. You know, you all are doing the right thing by being here and watching online. I think, you know, again, you should all be commended because the other pitfall, I think, is just waiting too late to apply. I think that is you know, something that can be avoided, something that you can control. So you're getting the information and doing the right thing right now. So, you know, make sure you follow through. If you haven't already started to apply, we're on the Common App, for example, and, you know, start to get your ducks in a row early. It just helps with the overall process when it comes down to the time to making a decision for yourself. So do yourself a favor and, you know, make sure you take advantage. I know you're busy with, you know, athletics and you know, plays and marching band, but make sure you take care of, you know, business in terms of getting your applications out there because that's very, very important. And it's always better to apply earlier rather than later in the process.
I love that you said that because I can't tell you how many colleges, including Pace, will get students the first week of class saying, huh, I just woke up today. I should probably think about going to college. Let me apply to everyone and anyone who might take me. You're probably not going to get the financial aid you want. You're probably not going to get into the college that you really want. And it just doesn't say a lot about you in terms of how motivated you are to be in college. So what you're all doing, like, we, all three of us, want to accept you right here and now, not even knowing what your test scores are, even though we're test optional. But I'm so happy that you're here, and all of you people online as well.
Thank you. We might have touched on this earlier, but I want to ask this again. Internships, career counseling, I know all colleges have those offices. How important is that for students to get, or be made aware of, you know, internships and career counseling early as they're at college?
Yep, so great question. I think it's, you know, for the University of New Haven, it's critical for our programs and majors. We are experiential learning based in terms of all of our programs. There will be internships that will be required, at least one. A lot of students, like I said before, do 2 or 3 different internships. Not only does our Career Services Center have internship opportunities, but we also have faculty that have experience in the field that have internships. They get some of the best internships. Just to let you know, make sure you know your faculty members because they can help you not only with that, but with you know, shaping your career and the path that you want to take and pursue. And I think that's critical because you know, we also have job fairs on campus. So during the fall and the spring semesters, you know, you want to attend those opportunities because you can not only get, you know, a potential opportunity for an internship, but that internship oftentimes turns into real job opportunities. And if it's something that you want to do as a career, for example, criminal justice students, a lot of them want to become FBI agents. There's only so many FBI positions in this country. So if that's what you want to do, you have to pursue it early, you have to be aggressive, and the faculty can help you with that along with the support services that we have in career services. So those are some of the tips and things that I think you should look for at other universities and for your particular programs that you're interested in that could be very, very helpful for you.
Yes, I think one of the most important things to look for in any college is the fact that they have an internship program or clinical placements or student teaching or whatever it happens to be. we require at least 2 internships before students graduate, unless it's like nursing and then they have to do 2 clinicals or whatever. But that is so important in helping you discover whether you want to continue or discontinue with that particular major. I think you said that earlier as well, because finding out what you don't want is just as important as finding out what you want. And like you also said, so many employers will hire their students full-time before they even graduate. So they'll have an offer in their hands in November for when they graduate in May. Also, maybe you want to do research with a faculty member, and so many faculty members love research. Like, I'm one of those nerds. And I teach social justice and environmental studies courses, and my specialization is human trafficking, so I did joint research with one of my students recently, and we published a paper in a peer-reviewed journal. Then we were asked to go present our research on human trafficking in Germany, and she went on to law school. Now she majored in, well, her specialization was human rights, and she graduated. Now she's a human rights lawyer. But those things, just starting with one faculty member doing research or doing an internship with your faculty member or with a nonprofit or for-profit organization, that makes all the difference in your ultimate career.
Everything they said, honestly. I will say this, if you go, and I would be hard pressed for you to find a school that does not have a strong career development or career services office, because we are in the business of making and giving you all of the opportunities to be successful in your chosen career. So all schools that you're looking at have strong career services options, should have well-connected faculty. It is really just dependent sometimes on what their interests are, right, in terms of research, where they're going to be connected. So that's something to talk about at those open houses with faculty. You know, one of our science faculty is, his main research is in ticks and tick prevention. I know, it's very strange. He does things called TikToks on TikTok. It's so cute. But those are going to be things that will make a difference, because, you know, maybe you don't want to study ticks. Okay, that's fine. You know, maybe there's another faculty member in that department that you do connect with. And so that's an important piece too. Again, talking to them as you're getting to know them in the college process will also help you figure out if that's the right place for you. But everything they said, and again, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a school that's a 4-year institution, a 2-year institution, a tech school, a certificate school that does not have a strong career development office, because we are in the business and in colleges to help you make sure that you are as successful as you can and give you those opportunities and resources.
I just also want to add one more thing as part of the experiential educational opportunities in terms of you know, looking at colleges. We also have a study abroad in Prato, Italy, and so you know, other colleges have study abroad opportunities as well. You can go as early as your freshman year, you know, first semester. So you know, look at those types of opportunities as well, because that's only going to make you a more well-rounded person, you know, academically and professionally. So I just wanted to mention that component as well, because I think that's very, very important. We're partnered with hundreds of other universities to be able to do study abroad just about anywhere in the world as well. So I just wanted to.
I echo that. As an undergrad, like back in the dinosaur age, I had done, I don't know, I think 8 different internships, and I went to study abroad in about 8 different countries. I just kept going and going and going. But it took a lot of planning and an academic advisor who really is on you to make sure that you're taking all the right courses. But when you graduate, the employers aren't as much looking at your major, except for like accounting, nursing, and teaching, as they are your experience. They want people with experience and people who have studied abroad, who have done volunteer work, who have done leadership positions. That's really what they look for more than anything else. So there. I used to be the director of career counseling at Pace, so like I know what they look for.
Thank you. All right, I've given you my hardest questions. I tried. Now I want to, for our members here, any questions for our representatives? Anything that we didn't cover? Anything you want to ask? Now is your opportunity. So just,
I'm gonna.
yeah.
We didn't talk at all about athletics, and I know that a lot of students, that's something that maybe you're looking for. I was a Division III basketball player, so there's different divisions, which if you are thinking about, and our individuals at home, if you are thinking about being a student athlete, what's important is also the division, right? That impacts how much time. So Division I is the highest division. Most of the time not all of the time, there are scholarships associated with being on the team. Division II, same thing. There can be scholarships that are associated with being on the team. The important thing to remember about that is that if you do decide to leave the team, those scholarships most of the time do not stay with you. Division III is the most prolific in terms of number of colleges that are part of the Division III, and I'm talking about NCAA. There are different athletic governing bodies in different parts of the country, but all Division III do not have scholarships associated with being on a team. It is part of being in the Division III level. The other thing is that if you are interested in any division, reach out to the coaches, see what they're looking for, if it's a school that you like, or maybe you've already been in contact with a coach, what do they expect from their student athletes? What's the time commitment look like? What are some of the academic services or study services or study halls, they call them, that are specific to the team? The other thing that's great, I decided not to continue my 4 years as an athlete. I did 2 years, and then I actually decided to study abroad. So I was Division III. You already have, this group of friends. I, still am friends with women that played basketball all 4 years at my institution. But those are some pieces that you'll want to start now if you haven't already. Do not, I'm gonna say this too, even if you thought you wanted to do it and you change your mind, that's okay. Remember that you don't have to be defined by the sport that you play. I think as athletes, sometimes it's very hard for us to distinguish ourselves outside of our athletic accomplishments and outside of all the things that we've known for so long. It's okay to say, you know what, after chatting with coaches or understanding what the expectations are and time commitment is, that I want something different in college. That's okay too. And talking to those people, I said, your counselors, your parents, maybe you have an older sibling or an older cousin or somebody that you can confide in. That's okay, right? That's why I also decided, I was like, I don't need this just to define me. I have other experiences. So we didn't get to talk a lot about that, but I know that that's a lot of pieces that students think about. I'm gonna say the same thing if you're, in musical theater or theater and you're like, I just thought this is exactly what I wanted to do. Maybe, and a lot of theater programs, musical theater programs are very competitive. We have both at Manhattanville, and both are competitive programs to get into. If you don't get into it, don't think that you can't be a part of it in some way. Maybe there's an ensemble, maybe there's a student play. So those are all things, right? Like I was talking athletes, but there's things that we've done in high school that clearly you feel like define who you are and who you're gonna be in college. And it's okay to take that second to be like, you know what? I think I'm gonna explore something new about myself. And I think that's a great thing to talk about too. I'm happy to answer more about athletics, but.
Thank you.
I think that's great, a great point. You have two former college basketball players up here because I played as well. So I'm also the athletics liaison. So you will be able to find at some other universities that have an athletics liaison that works with the coaches at some of the other universities. So that's something to look out for and to ask about if you are interested. As well, we have a marching band, 250 plus members. So, if you're interested, there's opportunities to earn a scholarship, for playing an instrument and being a part of the band. So there are other opportunities like that. So those are the types of things, whatever you're interested in, just make sure that you inquire about it. Because a lot of colleges will have a lot of opportunities that you may not know about unless you ask, because there's just so many different things that you can do. So just specifically in terms of what you're looking for and what your interests are, make sure you cover that with your college reps.
Just one more teeny thing. If you don't want to play in an actual sport, but you just want to, have fun with it, you can do intramurals. So most colleges have intramurals, and it's a lot of fun and it's camaraderie. So think about that as well.
Great point. We also have club sports as well, which also competes against other colleges and universities. So great point to intramurals, which additionally all students can participate in. So those are some other opportunities that you can look for as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do have one more question. So, I know this last week we had a program on financial aid, and I know the cost of college is on parents' minds and students' minds. I'll try to frame it in this aspect of it. There's public universities, there's private universities. Do you work with students in terms of meeting financial need? Should students, they might say, listen, I love all three of these schools, Manhattanville, University of New Haven, and Pace, but I'm looking at the price, and I'm a family, and I've got brothers and sisters. I guess what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way or roundabout way, how do you make it affordable? A student might say, I really love these schools. I don't want to not apply. I do want to apply, but I'm afraid, even if I, fill out my forms and FAFSAs and all kinds of other financial aid forms, how does it work? So, thank you.
Great question. I knew financial aid was going to come up. I was waiting for that
Couldn't
one.
get out of here without me.
No.
I love it.
The pink elephant in the room. So, yes, there is what we call sticker price, which is what you're not actually going to pay, but is the cost that the university has for tuition and fees and room and board, which you will have a total amount that is an estimated cost as well. So again, that's not what you're going to pay. You're going to also get, we have merit scholarships that start at $10,000 and go all the way up to $30,000. So that is a discount toward tuition. And additionally, you have the financial aid package, which you want to submit your FAFSA for. And once you've been accepted at the university, then you will get your financial aid package for any additional need-based aid, which will consist of grants, loans, and additional scholarships. And that's important. I think a lot of times families feel that, oh, we're not going to qualify for anything, so we're not going to bother submitting the FAFSA, but we encourage all families and students to submit the FAFSA, because sometimes you may be surprised what may be in your financial aid package. And then there's also private loans. So, your school counselor probably has a list of, private loans that you could look at. You could Google them and do a Google search. Some church-based organizations, as well as, community service organizations in the area, employers from family members. There's a lot of money out there that I think, if you really start to take a closer look, and that's what you're interested in, I think that you will find those types of opportunities available for you to apply to. And then admissions counselors as well at the colleges respectively have some additional potential scholarship opportunities that you may not know about as well. So always inquire, and if that's something that you're interested in.
You can start applying for the FAFSA now. You don't need to wait to get your admissions decision. So FAFSA, FAFSA.gov. Do not go to .com. They'll charge you to help you fill it out. It's the free application for federal student aid, free, right? So make sure you go to .gov. That's also studentaid.gov if you can't remember FAFSA. You can start filling that out now. You're going to use last year's tax returns to complete that. The other thing that most colleges have is if, obviously, you're using last year's tax returns, you're going to do another set of tax returns this coming year, right? So things may have changed. If there is a change, a significant change in, something in your income or anything like that, you can typically submit an appeal. That usually happens much later on. There's no guarantee that there's going to be additional money to be able to give, but you can always submit the appeal. Each college and university has their own appeal process, but you can start filing the FAFSA now. So don't delay on that, because the other thing is, once you have been admitted into the schools that you're applying to, our financial aid offices are able to link your admittance to your FAFSA immediately, right? So if you submit it, if that's the first thing that you do, and then you submit your application, that's okay too. There is no need to wait to submit that. This is another thing I'm gonna say. Those outside scholarships that you were talking about before, you better start looking at them now, my seniors, because some of the application deadlines are March 1, some of them are January 1, and remember, you're like, oh, it's only $500. You get 3 $500 scholarships, and now you're talking about $1,500 off your bill that you're gonna submit. Your counselors are a great resource for that. I'm sure they have a list of opportunities that they already know of. There's different websites to have that, but do not delay on that either. Unfortunately, you have a lot of work to do, right? Between your college application, your FAFSA filing, and scholarships, but anything worth doing is going to be a lot of work. I'm sure you already know that, right? Going to college is worth the work that you're going to put in and the time that you're going to put in. And the more time and effort that you put in, the better it's going to be for you, hopefully financially, and your experience. So that's what I have to say about financial aid that wasn't already said.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was a question. Sorry. Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and you're saying most colleges are test optional. Do we make our student prepare for these tests and take these tests if they're test optional? We're really confused about that.
Yeah. This is a junior parent. I didn't hear the question.
The question was, so our 3 schools are test optional. The question was, should we really be taking the time to prepare our students to take the SAT or ACT? I think that's a very personal decision. We are seeing a lot more students that are applying to colleges that are opting out of taking it. I'm sorry if that is something that you guys push, but we are seeing that. I'm sure you all are as well. It really is dependent on the school. I will say this, if you want to apply to an Ivy League school, or you want to apply to a top tier research school, you're gonna need to take the SAT and or the ACT. And you may even need to, depending on the program that you want to apply to, need to take a subject test. So I would be very intentional, especially my juniors that are watching, my junior parents here. If those are aspirations that you have or your student has, you should be taking it. I was not interested in an Ivy League school or in a Research 1 school, so I would have loved to have not taken them. That was not an option for me at the time that we were doing admissions. And I think it's great that that is an option for the students that know that they can be successful without taking those tests. That's my opinion, though.
I pretty much agree with what you're saying. It is a very personal decision based on the type of program and the college that you want to attend. So make sure you check with the colleges that you're interested in to find out whether or not they require the SAT or
It's a lot of
It's late.
scores. ACT scores. Yeah, just make sure you take a look into it, and that you want to make sure you're doing the right thing in terms of the interest and the programs that you want to get into.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Just to follow up.
Yeah.
Real quick, so the essay, you do submit the essay, your scores, you're saying they can't hurt you, but can they help you?
Yeah, at New Haven, yes, they can help you. So if you did happen to score well on your SATs, it gives us an indication of your math and English scores, and where you did on the standardized test. So that is something that we do take into consideration. So it is something that could potentially help you. Yeah.
But it is also dependent on each school. So we do not take SAT scores into account when we give out merit, whether you dropped out on them or didn't do great, because we just are test blind. We don't use them at any point for our admissions decision, including our scholarships. So each school is going to be different. I was at another school recently, about a year ago, that was very similar to University of New Haven. If you were scored a certain score, if you had a certain score, that would increase your merit a certain amount. I'm gonna be honest, I think it really depends. Each year, every school is looking at those test scores and how they're gonna use them. So for juniors, it could be different next year. Seniors, we're pretty locked into what we're saying right now for you guys, but that's something to be aware of too. We are seeing a push to test optional, but there was an article that came out maybe about a month and a half ago where there are some schools that are saying, you know what, we tried this and we're going back to requiring the tests. So it's gonna be something that you need to look at when your child or you are going through the process. Heaven forbid we make things particularly easy on all of you, right? But the more students that are applying to schools, and schools become more competitive, we're trying to figure out ways to see how you fit best at our college or university. So it is, please know it's confusing, and I can understand your confusion 100%. But making sure that you take the time to see what is right and what you're looking at is going to make a difference on why you decide to take the test or not.
Thank you. Yes.
I have found it very difficult to find a college's requirements as far as COVID vaccination and things like that. Would you recommend calling either admissions, or is there another department that I would
Call
call?
admissions.
Admissions?
Yeah.
And also, I think what we have is we have that information on our homepage, on our website as well. So
Maybe you guys do, but it is not on a lot.
Okay.
Really?
It is.
I'm surprised to hear
very-
that.
yeah,
Okay.
It is
Oh,
not easy to find at all.
So I would call the admissions office.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm sorry, I forget people are, honestly, the admissions office is gonna be your first call, right? Because we will get you in touch with the right people. I always feel bad when people are like, I was looking on the website and I couldn't find, this office. I know I need to talk to someone that works in accessibility services, but they don't realize that it was called a different name, right? Call the admissions office, contact your admissions counselor. We are more than happy to get you in touch with the right person than to have you hop around a website that has a lot of information. College websites have an extensive amount of information, which is wonderful, but also hard to navigate. That's my biggest advice. You got a question, go to your admissions counselor, your admissions office first, and we are happy to help and be that point of contact and reference.
No, completely agree with that.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I want to extend this big thank you to our panel tonight for joining us. Dr. Maxim from Pace University, Mr. Phil Howard from the University of New Haven, and Ms. Christina Labella from Manhattanville College. Information was tremendous. Really a great job. So thanks everybody, and thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.